Hello, welcome to the video. So I want to share with you something. So I was looking through my notes and I realized, oh my gosh, I didn't catch this before. So in the list of popes, Catholic Encyclopedia, they actually have Saint Eusebius listed as one of the popes and claiming that he reigned from 309 to 310. So that's fascinating because if you read uh, if you read his book, Ecclesiastical History, okay, he makes no mention about such a position, Pope. But if you look at the timeline here, that I mentioned in numerous other videos, in the year 342, there was the Council of Sardica. Now this was right after Eusebius' time, just like 2 years after he died, called the Council of Sardica. So it was basically where the emperor had final authority at that council, which suggests that there was no pope at that time. Alrighty, and just the fact that you had an emperor having the final authority. Keep in mind what Eusebius did. He actually combined the power of the church and state together. Alrighty, and as you can imagine, when the emperor is calling final doctrine, that's kind of a problem. And so that's really, so you just think about it. Put yourself in their shoes, sandals, whatever they're wearing at the time. Put yourself in their shoes. That's a problem. They're going to have to figure out a way. How can we break away from the state? They can't be calling out the final authority over a doctrine like this. So you can imagine they had to create the position of the Pope at that time. So this had to been where it originated. Alrighty. So when you look at the timeline, let's see here, right here. So that was 342. So that suggests from here on up, nobody was actually a pope. Alrighty. Here, this person possibly could have been a pope. This person possibly could have been a pope. This is the first person in written history that refers to himself as pope. So we know that the papacy, if that piece of writing is reliable, then we know that this is he had been pope by this point. That role actually existed. Now that's 42 years after that council, where they apparently had no popes at that time. Alrighty, but notice the opposition's there, and then there also opposition here. Well, how can there be opposition if there's no pope? Again, in the 4th century, if you study the 4th century carefully, again, you cannot do this today. It's impossible. But if you study the 4th century carefully, it was not difficult at all to rewrite history if you had relations with the emperor who had access to all the tax collectors who have been able to assess the inventory of all the scrolls of the entire Roman Empire in just 28 libraries. That was it. Now, keep in mind, there's no such thing as middle class. There's the lower class. Not one single person in the lower class owned a scroll. They didn't have books back then. They had scrolls. Not a single one. They couldn't afford it. Okay, so it's very easy for them to assess, gather, burn, or rewrite history and burn. Okay. So anyway, if we look back at that timeline, okay, you had the scroll burnings. Okay, I use the word books so that we can associate with it a little better, but they weren't books; they were scrolls. So they claim that it was 309, 310. This is towards the end of the book burning, scroll burnings. Okay, and so over here at the Council of Sardica, which, okay. So obviously Eusebius had been writing before this, okay, before he died, okay, which is a couple years before that council meeting. Alrighty, and again, there's not one word in here about such a position, such a role. And if you're gonna write It is my purpose to record the succession of the holy apostles together with the time since our Savior down to present, to recount how many important transactions said to have occurred in ecclesiastical history, what individuals in the most noted places, you'd think that'd be popes, eminently governed and presided over the church, and what men also in their respective generation, whether with or without their writing, proclaimed the divine word. So, not one word. That's a position of pope. Okay? So, just bishop was the highest position during his time. And so whoever created this list, what they did was they took people who have been labeled bishop, which, by the way, before Eusebius' time, they would just been referred to as overseers, okay? The word bishop actually originated from government. And when did that happen? When the church and state merged together during that time, like I pointed out to you during Eusebius' time. So that word bishop came into the church when the church and state merged together, okay? So then they rewrote history trying to fabricate this list. But it seems really strange, doesn't it, that right here during this time, you had an emperor having final authority over doctrine. Well, where is St. Julius then? If he was pope. It's so unlikely. And you read that council, it says not one word about there being a pope and wish he was here or he was sick. And not one word. And I can just see somebody down the road just fabricating this to do damage control. At the council, so that the pope was such place and he was helping the needy over here. That's why he didn't show up to the council meeting. And people are going to buy into it. There's no question that's going to happen down the road. I see a lot of damage control that's done by Roman Catholic apologists. It just, not that they fabricate anything, but they're masters of the art of persuasion. And that's why they're drawing some people in such large numbers. And these are the people that are being drawn to it. They were never good at hermeneutics to begin with. They're just not... they're not the type that are going to ever solve, the fulfillment of prophecies in the first century. They're just not the type of people that are going to do that. So, like I have. So, anyway. So, I just want to point that out. That's interesting that they would throw them in there. There's no evidence to support that, especially when you read this. There's no way he was pope at the time he wrote this. During his, so he would have been 49 to 50 years old at this time. It's possible that he wrote after, but it just seems strange that the book burnings, again, the scroll burnings took place right here. Okay, that would have meant he would have been writing here before the burning took place to make the modified copies. So, in other words, another example is Irenaeus. Okay, you got 5 books. Okay, and it had been said that some are missing. The originals are missing. But how do you know that from the Greek to Latin translation that books were being added that never existed? And so I really believe that Book 3 was a book that was added that Irenaeus never wrote. Book 3 against heresies. He never wrote that. I mean, I have a video on that. I'm like, there's no way Irenaeus wrote this. So some of the stuff that's in there. Just really odd. So anyway, so that's interesting. So he would have had to written this sometime during here, before the scroll burning took place by the church and state. Okay? And so to go and say that he would pope here, anyway, it just seems strange that so let's go back to the timeline here. Sorry. He makes no mention of St. Marcellus as being a pope. He makes no mention about him passing away or him stepping down or anything like that. He makes no mention of it and how he became Yeah, he makes no mention of him even reigning as a pope, nor this one as well. Yeah, and Eusebius born in 260, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, supposedly 6 popes before he became pope, and not one word about any of them. And again, when you read his very first paragraph, it just seems odd that he would not include these 6. Not a word. All right. So anyway, just more evidence. So again, the first pope, I mean, based on the Council of Circa, whatever you call it. Let's see here. Syracuse. Or Sardica. Okay. Council of Sardica, sorry. That was 342 again. And this suggests that this person was never a pope. And you have these 2. Possibly. But I don't think... yeah. It just seems strange that this is the first person in history who refers to himself as pope. And these 2 here, it's possible they were pope. But definitely from number 35 on down, this is all fabricated. And Peter was definitely never in Rome. If you watch my videos, he was definitely never even in Rome. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Just some thoughts on that. And hope you have a great day.